Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, how high can prices go? Pain at the pump. We'll be talking to an international expert on oil and gas next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, we are all feeling it. I remember about a month ago, my wife coming home and complaining that $100 would not even fill up her gas tank. And so we gotta wonder how high this can go. And with the war in Ukraine going on, oil prices are turbulent. Sometimes they're ticking up, sometimes they're ticking down. To talk about that today, an international oil and gas expert, David Blackmon with DB Energy Advisors. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Very cool. Well, you've been in this business for a long time. Tell us your history. You really have.
I'm old, yes. Yes, I've been in it for over 40 years. My first job out of college was with Coastal States Corporation in Houston in 1979.
And they have ups and downs, and even during COVID, remember when gas went to zero, didn't it?
Negative, yeah. The oil price went to negative $39 and change on April 20th of 2000. Yeah.
Which means we should have all loaded up on
right. That was when fill up your giant tanks with gasoline.
Okay, so let's talk about Ukraine. How do you see this playing out?
Oh gosh, well, you know, actually, as we're taping this, we've had some good news, I think, on the negotiations for a peace agreement here in the last couple of days, with Ukraine making some concessions that hopefully will encourage a quick end to it. But you know, it's just devastating what's happened there. Nothing justifies what Russia has done in Ukraine, and it's really tragic for the Ukrainian people. So just got to hope that there's a quick solution somewhere.
And when I tell you that he's an international expert, he appears all over the place in the media. In fact, we're going to show on TV your Forbes articles. I mean, you're a contributor. That must be fun, huh? Oh,
it's fun. Yeah, I've been doing that off and on since 2012. I just kind of something I stumbled into while I was doing some consulting work back then, and you know, it's been great that they've allowed me to maintain that platform all these years.
Outstanding. Well, let's talk about U.S. oil policy, because it's complicated.
It sure is.
Under Trump, it wasn't exactly drill, baby, drill, but it was close to it under Trump, wasn't it?
It was, yes, absolutely. And in fact, I think really when you look at it, and I've been involved in it since the Jimmy Carter administration, when they passed the windfall profits tax, all the presidencies since then, including the Bushes, the Trump administration was probably the most aggressive in encouraging oil and gas development in the United States of any of those administrations. So it wasn't quite drill, baby, drill, but it was pretty close to it.
Yeah, and President Biden doesn't see things exactly the same way as Trump did.
No, he does not.
So like if you had Biden's ear, what would you recommend he do in order for us to not be so dependent on other nations for our oil supply?
You know, I mean, obviously, the main thing the administration could do is stop holding up permits. There are all sorts of permitting processes at the federal government that oil and gas companies need, not just to drill wells on federal lands, but to build pipelines. Any pipeline that crosses a state boundary has to have a permit from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the FERC. And it is taking forever to get those permits. Last Friday, the president, without talking with anybody in the LNG export industry, committed that industry to increasing its exports to Europe by 400% by the year 2030. Well, in order to do that, we're going to have a massive expansion of infrastructure here in the United States. Not just the LNG export facilities themselves, which each one costs $10 billion to build, but also the pipelines that bring the natural gas to those facilities. And I talked to one LNG company on Monday of this week who said that they've been waiting 15 months now to get a permit to move a piece of equipment that's necessary to transport the natural gas within their facility 50 feet.
Wow.
50 feet, and they've waited 15 months to get a permit. It's crazy.
Let's do a little fact check, because I know you heard this news conference. It was about 3 weeks ago. Biden says, well, there's 9,000 leases that haven't been explored.
Yeah.
Is that accurate, or?
Sure it is. Yeah, yes. And so, but that process, yes. I mean, it's right that there are 9,000 leases that currently aren't producing on federal lands and in the Gulf of Mexico. But the reality is that companies take those leases, kind of on speculation. They haven't been able to go in and run seismic to see if the oil and gas is there. They think it's there when they buy the lease. But then, once you have the lease, you have to go in and figure out what's there and what's not there. Then you have to obtain the permits in order to even, build a platform for a drilling rig. And then you have to obtain another permit to build a road to the platform, and another one to move the drilling rig in. And so it's this very complex, time-consuming process. So of the 9,000 leases, many of them, and in fact, a lot of them don't contain any oil and gas at all and will never be drilled. That's just the way the business works. 2,200 of them are subject to lawsuits in the court system right now, and the rest are waiting on permits from the federal government. And so, yes, there are 9,000 leases. That's an accurate statement, but the details behind that are very complex, and any presidential administration has the ability to hold that process up through the permitting process.
Let's talk about your very popular radio show. You've been doing the show for how long now?
6 years, in the Oil Patch Radio Show, yes.
Yeah, all right. Tell me about that. Why did you start it?
Well, I didn't start it. Kim Bellotto, the co-host and producer of the show, started it just to tell the story of the shale business in Texas initially. Mm-hmm. It was all focused on the Eagle Ford Shale in South Texas, the Barnett Shale here in North Texas, and the Permian Basin, which was in a major boom period at that time. And then since then, we've, begun focusing on a lot more diverse set of topics, including the energy transition, renewables, and just all the things going on around energy policy, since that's my background. And, we're on 5 stations in Texas. We're syndicated on the Salem radio network and several other markets around the country now. And so it's been a really great experience for me. I learn a lot, frankly, talking to the people we interview. And it just gives me an opportunity to keep myself informed about everything that's kind of going on in the space, and I really enjoy doing it.
Well, and thank you for sharing your wisdom with the world, because I think there is a lot of misinformation out there, and sometimes the media is a headline service, and they give just a little bit, and you dive deep. So let's talk about your consulting business, because you are for hire.
Sure, yeah, I do some consulting on communications, public policy. I do research work, writing work for various clients. And, it's just, I retired out of the industry itself in August of 2016. I was almost 60 years old then, and my wife and I were living in Houston. Our grandkids were up here, and our kids. And so we decided, it was time to kind of call it a day, and I had to find other ways to make money. Yeah. And so I went into consulting. I was very fortunate to have a couple of great clients already lined up, and have had several other clients since then. And, it's what I enjoy doing. And I'm doing it from my home, so it almost doesn't even feel like work at this point.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a fascinating interview. Final thoughts? What would you like to leave people with?
Well, we're going to have a tough time here over the next few months with oil and gas prices. They're just going to go nowhere but up from here. And the world situation is going to make that process even more exacerbated, I think. So everybody needs to plan to pay more for energy in their monthly budgets, which is too bad.
Wow. David Blackmon, DB Energy Advisors, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.